History is often polished. Empires are remembered for their monuments, their victories, their kings. But power has always had another side. Behind the marble columns and golden thrones were rooms without windows, devices without mercy, and punishments designed not just to kill, but to dominate. Tonight, we step into that darker world. 5 torture methods recorded across history, 5 instruments of fear, and 5 reminders of what happens when power goes unchecked. 5. The Judas Cradle, Medieval Europe. In the stone chambers of medieval Europe, confession was not requested, it was extracted. The Judas Cradle was deceptively simple, a pyramid-shaped seat mounted on a wooden frame. The condemned was stripped, bound with ropes, and slowly lowered onto the pointed tip. Gravity did the rest. There were no blades, no fire, no dramatic spectacle, just unbearable pressure. Interrogators controlled the height with pulleys, raising and lowering the victim repeatedly, prolonging agony without immediate death. Used during periods of religious persecution and inquisitions, it was designed to humiliate as much as it harmed. Its cruelty was calculated: pain without spectacle, suffering without witnesses, confession at any cost. 4. The Brazen Bull, Ancient Sicily, 6th century BCE. In the ancient city of Acragas, under the rule of Phalaris, stood a hollow statue of a bull made entirely of bronze. It gleamed in the sun. It looked ceremonial, sacred even. The condemned were sealed inside through a hidden door. Beneath it, a fire was lit. As the metal heated, the air inside became unbreathable. The bronze turned into an oven. But the most chilling detail wasn't the heat. It was the sound. A system of internal pipes transformed human screams into the deep, distorted bellowing of a bull. From the outside, the crowd heard what sounded like an animal roaring. Punishment became theater. Suffering became spectacle. The ruler did not simply eliminate enemies. He displayed power in bronze. 3. Scaphism, Ancient Persia. In the marshlands of ancient Persia, execution could stretch into days. The condemned was placed between 2 hollowed boats, sealed together so only the head, hands, and feet remained exposed. They were force-fed milk and honey. The mixture was poured across their body. Then they were left under the open sky. Insects came first, then infection, then decay. The body weakened slowly, trapped and unable to escape. It was not a swift execution. It was endurance turned into punishment, an example meant to send a message across the empire. The king's justice was not quick, it was absolute. 2. The Breaking Wheel, Holy Roman Empire and France. In medieval town squares, justice was not hidden, it was elevated. The breaking wheel stood tall, a massive wooden wheel mounted on a post. The condemned was tied across its surface. An executioner, armed with an iron bar, began the sentence. Limbs were shattered in deliberate sequence, bone by bone. The wheel was then lifted upright, the body woven between its spokes, raised high above the crowd. Sometimes victims remained alive for hours. This was more than punishment. It was public instruction. Crime had consequences. Authority had teeth, and mercy was rare. 1. Lingchi, China, abolished 1905. For centuries in imperial China, certain crimes were considered so severe that death alone was not enough. The punishment was called Lingchi, often translated as death by 1,000 cuts. The condemned was restrained in public. Executioners carried out the sentence in stages, prolonging the process, while the crowd watched in silence. Lingchi was reserved for crimes like treason and parricide. It was reserved for those seen as enemies of the state itself. The method was abolished in 1905 as China entered a new era. But for centuries, Lingchi stood as a warning. To betray the empire was to be erased slowly. It is easy to look back at these methods and feel distance, to call them barbaric, primitive, uncivilized. But every one of these punishments existed within structured societies. Governments approved them, courts ordered them, crowds witnessed them. Torture was never chaos. It was policy, and history shows us something uncomfortable. Human beings are capable of extraordinary creativity, not just in building empires, but in inventing suffering. The real question is not how these devices worked, it's how entire societies accepted them. Because when fear becomes law, cruelty becomes tradition, and tradition can last centuries.